YouTube, hello. Welcome back to the life and suffering of Sir Brant. Playthrough number dos. I am your homie Davvon. Without any further delay, as always, let's play. Now, I did mention in the last video that I had to cut it a bit short because I had a corrupted file. And I had to go through and redo all my choices up to this point. I believe there hasn't been any huge discrepancies other than pocketing a few extra lives this time compared to the first one. I'm still, like I said, trying to keep it relatively the same. I don't want a drastically different outcome. I want to survive to the end. That is the number one goal, is just to survive. Agony. Stefan leaves soon after the trial. Alone. Grandfather does not go with him. For the first time in a long while, he lingers in the house for more than a fortnight. Father says Sir Gregor is ill and needs rest. Oh, I did make a big change. I did not stick up for Gloria at the trial, and I regretted that almost immediately after I did the playthrough. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Several months go by, and it becomes clear that Grandfather will not recover. The eldest Brant is mostly bedridden now. On some days, he has trouble recognizing people. When he means to address you or Nathan, he calls you Robert, your father's name. But when he does get out of bed, the house grows empty. The servants hide. Mother locks herself in her chambers. You and Nathan run outside or hide quietly in your rooms. If Grandfather sees anyone in the hallway, he begins lamenting. Oh, nobody heeds the lots any longer. Any harlot with a child can marry a nobleman these days. Children have no respect. His son betrayed him and let him down. And know how the Brant family has lost its honor. Again and again, you hear Grandfather knocking at Mother's door, screaming that it is all her fault. He blames her for ruining his chances to find bliss in the hereafter. He blames her for dooming him to suffer at the foot of the pillar. You overhear your parents talking one night. Mother begs Father to move Sir Gregor to his old home and spare the children his decline. Father refuses her outright. It is late at night. The hot, dry winds are coming. The house is empty, save for you, Nathan, Gloria, Mother, and Grandfather in his bed. Father has left for the capital on business. You are engrossed in the history of the Empire, snapping out of your reverie only when the clock strikes midnight. You blow out the candle and get ready for bed. You hear the shuffling of heavy feet outside your door. You see light in the hallway. Grandfather, what could he want in the middle of the night? You peek into the hallway once he is passed. Grandfather's figure sways as he heads for the door to Mother's chambers. He opens the door and walks in. You hear him saying something quietly. Your unease is stronger than you fear now. You sneak closer to hear his words. Gregor Brant, foul commoner. I need to. I have to cleanse my sins. Save my soul. You are my greatest skin. You and what you have done to Robert and this family. I should have put a stop to this marriage. I should have stopped Robert from tainting this house by your presence. Why, oh why didn't I do it? Lydia Brant. Please, Sir Brant, I beg you. Gregor Brant. Silence! You will do my bidding. Fire will cleanse all lowborn filth from this place. Fire and flame will free Robert from this disgrace. This is for my son's sake. For my son's sake. For my sake. I need to eradicate this lowborn filth. The twins. They are calling for me now. I can feel it. I can feel it. Lydia Brant. I beg of you, please. Have mercy. Mother begins to cry. You run into the room, unable to stay out of this any longer. Grandfather's gaunt figure looms over Mother's bed, a lit oil lamp in his hand. Mother is sprawled out on the bed, crying. Lydia Brant. Please, just let me warn the children. I beg of you, Sir Brant. Your steps are loud enough to be heard. Grandfather turns to look at you. Gregor Brant. Stay out of this, Davvon Jr. Be useful for once. Worldly matters concern me no longer. I see only my sins now, and a sinner I am. A sinner! The twins! They forgive no one. They will judge me by the pillar. I must do something. I don't want to suffer for all eternity. Go away. Mother is crying. Grandfather is still looming over the bed, driven to madness. His hand shakes as he clutches the oil lamp. His eyes shine in the darkness. He truly believes this has to be done. You are suddenly torn. What if he is right? What if that is the only way for his soul to find salvation? There is no going back now. You have but a moment to act. By the way, we're going to stop grandfather again. I am just saying. Turn to mother's side, snatch the lamp before it catch fire. Bet. You look at grandfather defiantly and step towards him. He stares you down with rage and throws the oil lamp at the floor. You manage to catch it, but just barely. Several drops of hot oil hit the rug, not nearly enough to start a fire. The lamp's glass is blistering hot. It burns your hands, but you still hold onto it safely. Gregor Brant, you one scum. Ruined everything. You're every bit like your mother. You. Enraged, he takes a swing at you. You squeeze your eyes shut, but he does not hit you. Instead, there is a deep exhalation. You peek at him with one eye, just in time to see him collapse, all his strength fading away. His chest is heaving, his face a grimace of contempt. Another heavy exhalation. The contempt is gone. There is only fear now. Grandfather's eyes open wide, almost in surprise. He exhales. His eyes grow dim. Mother is there, whispering a prayer. He is shaking violently. You put the oil lamp gently on the bedside table and call for the servants. They carry the body away. Not disappear. A true death has found him. He will not return. Spend the rest of the night with mother in the sitting room. She will not let go of your hand. For many nights afterwards, keep seeing grandfather's shadow out of the corner of her eye. Father returns from Eterna the morning after. He is unusually composed as he arranges for the funeral. The house becomes quiet. Not the looming, heavy sort of quiet of the past few months, but the calm relief you all feel now that the crazed old man is no more. At last, Gregor Brant, the family's patriarch, has departed for the hereafter. True death for Gregor Brant. R.I.P. Get the bleep out. No big loss there. Yeah, I'm only slow now. Not dull-witted. But I am honorable. Grandfather's demise. Nobody will miss you. Last respects. The night of grandfather's death shook your family to the core. Yet no matter how it happened, your grandfather Gregor Brant is dead and will never return. He was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brant patriarch exerting his influence in all the lives below him, and all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he still cannot bring himself to sit at the head of the table where Sir Gregor used to preside. Stefan locks himself away in grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Gloria and Nathan still jump at every sound that as so much as resembles the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple. And yet the house has become calm and quiet with his passing. Yet there is one more thing that must be done. Final farewell. It weighs heavily upon your soul. The day comes to pay your final respects. Father goes to the tomb, alone, save for Stefan, Nathan, and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles or those who may become nobles may join this ritual. There is a solemn silence as you walk to the crypt. Father is the one who breaks the silence when you finally reach the door of the family crypt. Robert Brant. Your grandfather built this crypt, and now he will be the first Brant to remain here in body forever. The first ever noble in our family. It is our duty now to hold the sacrament of flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We'll honor his legacy and join him as the founder of the noble Brant dynasty. Stefan perks up at father's words. His hands still clutch grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above the owner's sarcophagus. Nathan, on the other hand, looks even more frightened now. Stairs carved of white stone lead you downward. Deep in the gloom of the crypt, atop a pedestal, you see the sarcophagus that holds grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to compose himself before paying his final respects. Robert Brant. Gregor Brant, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshakable will. He was a judge and a loyal servant to the Empire. He lived his life as if he had been one, born a noble, and he had never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make the Brant family ennobled by the sword so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abided by my father's words all my life, even if I could not obey him every time. Father lets off a bitter chuckle as he says this. Stefan glares at Father, then turns to glare at Nathan and you. After all, the two of you were born of Father's shameful decision to marry a commoner, Robert Brant. All of you remember his disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved, but we all must know that he fought for the future he believed in to the very end. And he would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with this sacrament of the nobility. Stefan still glares at Father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around Grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, his arms folded across his chest. Father reaches into his jacket and pulls out a slender dagger, thin and sharp. He takes off his gloves. Robert Brant, watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut on the palm of your hand and let your blood flow into this duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood here and flow forever. Then ancestor and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing, for his blood flows first in our blood time. He will respond to you. You are part of him, and he is a part of you. With a quick motion, Father slices his hand and holds the bleeding cut above a small opening in the wall. Then he hands the dagger to Stefan. Stefan cuts his hand without hesitation and does as Father did. You receive the dagger next. The dagger's handle feels warm. You hesitate for a moment as you look at the palm of your hand. You participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brant blood tide. You, a lowborn child who is still a commoner. Are you ready to claim your legacy as a descendant of the nobleman Gregor Brant? The eyes of your father and brothers are upon you. Nathan, the youngest brother, will follow your example. You can be certain of this. Did we bleed last time? I think I gave the dagger back. You still recall your first sacrament and how you defied the last year. So we didn't have this option last time. I am going to choose this. This is a difference. Last time we gave the dagger back because we could not do the bleed option because we did not kiss the sword last time. So we're already seeing another option open to us that had not originally been open to us. We're gonna choose this one. I'm curious. I want to see what happens. I would have chose this last time if I could have. You remember that fateful day when you were 8. The day when you tried to choose a different lot for yourself. You violated the ritual in the temple. You kissed the sword, and, against all odds, you said you had the right to be a nobleman. And now you must confirm this right. You must join the Brant blood tide. You grasp the dagger firmly, then hold the blade to your skin and quickly drag it across your palm. Drops of your blood fall into the duct, flowing further into the crypt as they combine with the blood of your father and brother. The fresh wound burns on your hand. Stefan Brant. What are you doing, Davvon Jr.? Why did you have to take these two along, Father? This ritual is for nobles, and you two aren't even noblemen. His eyes meet Father's stern gaze. No one is to interrupt the sacrament. Indignant as he is, Stefan falls silent. You hand the dagger to Nathan. Your younger brother hesitates. Father offers him help, but Nathan shakes his head. Finally, he makes a cut, and Nathan's blood joins yours. Duct of the crypt. The deed is done. It is time to close the sarcophagus. Lid falls into place with a heavy, resonant thud. Then suddenly, you all freeze as each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. His voice is loud as it rings in the depths of the crypt, and yet he speaks to each of you separately. Gregor Brant. So you think yourself my descendant, son of lowborn women? Very well, time will tell how much nobility you have within. But know this, I am your ancestor, and you are my flesh and blood. I'll be watching you always, and my shadow will follow you forever. Do not let me down, boy. Grandfather's words fall silent. Glance at your father and brothers, astonished save for Stefan. Everyone else is dumbfounded as well. The ritual is complete. Stefan reverently kisses the grip of grandfather's sword and places it in the alcove above the sarcophagus. Once all is done, you leave the crypt together. Cool, fresh wind blows in your face as you return to the surface. Stefan storms off to the carriage, fuming. Father stops halfway to the carriage and hugs Nathan and you briefly. Now your blood belongs to the dynasty of Sir Gregor Brante as well. You join the blood tide of the Brante family. Yay, blood tide. The Fugitive Girl. Grandfather's passing and last respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words relayed from the hereafter keep echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of grandfather's last night and spend more time on the city streets with Tomas and your other classmates. The road by the house reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes as you walk along that road, you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with the wonderful eyes and the terrifying, thundering hooves. You have not seen Sophia since that fateful day. The children who live nearby say her parents sent her to a rich Arcnian family, the Ottens, as a servant. The sun has set. The pillar shines palely in the dark sky. Tomas is ill, so you decide to visit him and tell him the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces, and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a heavy embroidered cloak is walking back and forth, clutching his sword nervously. There is a grimace of rage on his delicate blue face. He is an Arcnian. You overhear voices. Sir Otten, the girl's not at home. We searched the house. Her parents swear she ran away from the home, too. They claim they wanted to bring her back. Dorius Otten. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must. Bring back my servant. I'm sorry, I'm gonna apologize and reread this whole thing. I just butchered that majorly bad. Here we go again. Dorius Otten. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must. But bring my servant back to me. She is here. Sophia ran away from an Arcnian? How can this be? There's only one place on the entire street where a person could hide. The abandoned Morel house, 4 houses away from yours. You head there, doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house built of yellow brick has been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside even before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You would recognize them even after another 4 years. Sophia has grown up. She is almost an adult now. Her face is full of fear. She is not the easygoing girl next door that you remember. She finally recognizes you. Sophia. Oh, it's you, Davvon Jr. Be quiet. They're all looking for me. I ran away from the youngest Otten. I might be in for a lesser death here, but I'd rather die than spend another day in their slavery. Just a thing to him, just a toy to play with. Sophia winces and closes her mouth as she says this. There is a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes. Sophia. I ran to my parents. I told them all about the men I had to serve. They went and alerted the Ottens. They don't want to be the target of their ire, but you aren't going to tip them off. Are you? The barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet. She runs off to the darkest corner of the house before you can answer. One of the Otten's servants is so close you can hear his cloak swishing against the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. There are more voices around you now. They approach the house from the yard and surround it. One of them seems particularly snappy, annoyed, and impatient. You have already heard this voice today, Dorius Otten. If you're in there, girl, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven and you'll go back where you were. You know it. And if you don't, I'll drag you out by the hair. The hilt of the young Arcnian sword bashes at the door. He is about to lose his patience for good. Sophia hugs the wall in the dark, trying to stay still. She glances at you. What will you do? Your heart is racing. Can you act against the Arcnian's orders? Do you have the gall to defy the nobleman? Oh, I can't do either of these? Oh, Oh my god, no. Why have I done this? Ah! The inside I'm reeling right now. I've made decisions that have led me to an end that I do not enjoy, but at the same time, okay. So at the same time, I have not had the ability to alter this decision. I did not have the willpower to save Sophia, and I need to pocket the lives for myself. One thing I need to remind myself as I do the second playthrough is that I died in the last playthrough because I tried to help too many of the other people. I stuck my neck out for everybody but myself, and it ended up getting lopped off. I don't think Sophia in the long scale thing ever really played into my end game in the last one. I kept saving her ass, but it never paid off for me. I didn't join her cult or her society. I didn't side with her at the college. Every choice that I made steered away from her. I don't want to bring Sophia back to Auten, though. So I'm going to hide alone. I don't want to be on Auten's side either. The guy's honestly kind of a tool. You swiftly turn away from Sophia's desperate gaze and flee to cower in a dark corner. A pained sigh reaches your ears. I feel like a total jerk right now. Sophia, I knew it. You do not respond. You need to hide. The front door slams open. Heavy footsteps echo. I'm such a coward, dude. Ah! The front door slams open. Heavy footsteps echo from the entrance. The irate Arcanian strides right past your hiding place, paying you no heed whatsoever. Dorius Auden, where are you little tramp? There's no hiding from me. A shadowy figure streaks past you. Sophia? A high-pitched, furious scream slices through the silence. A blinding golden flash explodes in front of you, a sudden cascade of sparks burning through the darkness. As you blink, stunned, Auten's tall figure freezes and suddenly collapses. The golden sparks are still dancing before your eyes. A sudden pain seems to rupture your skull from the inside. Through the light and the pain, you barely catch a glimpse of Sophia as she dashes past the prone Archean and runs out the door. It takes Auten a few long moments to regain his senses. He gets up with a curse and runs after Sophia. Dorius Auten says she's a witch too, eh? Get her, now! You hear men running and shouting, barking orders on the other side of the wall. You lie there on a pile of old bricks, rubbing your eyes. The strange stupor slowly leaves you. You get to your feet and walk unsteadily out of the abandoned house. The danger has passed. You walk back home, lost in thought. So Sophia is a witch. You recall how her magic bound Auten by the arms and legs, how he lost all control of his body. The runaway servant girl becomes the talk of the district for an entire week. You hear that Sophia has managed to flee the city. The Autens are furious. Sophia vanished from your life just as suddenly as she came. You will not see her again for quite some time. Bittered. Oof. That's an ouch. You're 1,133, 15 years of age, adolescence. For those of you watching who just watch me essentially be a coward, I apologize. That is not a choice I would have made in real life. I had no choice. We did this to ourselves. I don't want this to stray too far from the first playthrough, and yet I feel it's straying very far from the first playthrough. It's really interesting to see what the difference of a couple choices can make to the game, though. You're 1,133. Summer, the blood-stained sermon. You were about to turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is acting anxious at dinner today, barely touching her food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you that she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders, and her hands clench into fists. Lydia Brant. No, don't you dare leave home today. I forbid it. That dirty heretic Fotis is preaching his lies under the silver tree today. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that. You and Gloria glance at each other again. Fotis, he is a patriarch, the head of the clergy throughout the entire province. That is the first time you've heard Mother speak like this about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. Once you leave the dinner table, Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the silver tree. You simply must hear the sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Fotis? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown-ups now. Surely you have a right to know. You agree with your sister. Together you sneak out from under your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the silver tree. The temple block is full of people from all ranks and estates. There is barely enough room for you to squeeze through the crowd. The crowd is gathered around the very roots of the tree. Gloria suggests that you climb up to the roof of a nearby building so you can hear and see everything better. And not a moment too soon, from the roof you see a tall silver-haired priest step onto the platform by the tree. Dressed in a common black robe that looks far beneath his rank, yet he stands like a noble before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flapping in the wind, the open book. This is the symbol of the new faith, the crowd whispers. The patriarch holds his hands up to the sky, and the entire temple block grows quiet. He begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Fotis speaks of a great mistake. Patriarch Fotis. We entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years, the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man, Prophet Insatius. The twins are ever watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt. But how can we so blindly believe that we truly followed their will by following the lots? Have we not seen the 3 lots of Insatius fail again and again to answer the question of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or Archean, lowborn or noble, must find their lot and their way to the gods on their own. From now on, we will seek the gods in the accounts of their own lives, in their own acts in this world, and in their own words as they echo within us. And as we heed the voice of the twins, we will find each their path for us on our own. We will each find their path for us on our own. The crowd at the silver tree listens to the patriarch speak in stunned silence. You glance at your sister. Her eyes glisten with tears as she hears Fotis' words. Then suddenly, a hoarse cry rises from the crowd. If there are no lots, does that mean the nobles are gonna till the fields and the commoners are gonna bear arms? The crowd begins to murmur. The patriarch raises an arm and inhales, ready to answer. An odd figure leaps from the crowd onto the platform, a dirty beggar dressed in rags. A knife flashes in his hand. The blade slices. Blood starts spurting from Fotis' throat. He slumps over and collapses. A dark brown puddle spreads across the platform where he had stood. Gloria clutches her mouth to suppress a shriek. A few moments of stunned silence and the screams begin. The people are frantic. The temple guard try to restore order in the crowd, but to no avail. An old woman dressed in an inquisitor's cassock tries in vain to apply pressure to the patriarch's wound. The noble draws their swords. Dogs are barking. The crowd is pushing and shoving. Children are crying. The entire square by the tree is in chaos. From the roof, you see the moment when people start trampling each other, howling, praying, shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother has been in her room all the while, so no one noticed your absence. Gloria locks herself in her room. You do not discuss the things you have just seen. They are too frightening, but your parents discuss every little detail of the blood-stained sermon over dinner. Robert Brante. This is unbelievable. A patriarch murdered in plain sight. The guards and the Archduke's guards have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggars disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Fotis has died a true death, never to return from the hereafter. Nathan Brante. But how? Why can't the patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins. Robert Brante. Such is the way of the world, my children. Once you are granted great power by the twins' will, there's no hope for you to come back. Not even after the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, heads of great Archean dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn. Lydia Brante. Fotis is gone forever. I fear for his soul. He was lost in doubt. Will the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the patriarch, children. Let us hope he managed to return to the true old faith before the moment of his passing. But there is little hope for that. Church +1, old faith. Order -1, discontent. One sec, I gotta clear my nose real quick. I just smacked the hell out of my microphone by accident. The last night. Tomorrow you turn 16. According to imperial law, you will be full adult. Your time at Sir Tibur's school has ended. You have studied enough to apply for the Imperial College and learn the judge's trade there. You are to travel to Eterna tomorrow. Your friend Tomas will go there with you to try his luck at the Imperial capital. Mother and father prepare for the long journey. Robert Brant, remember, son, there's only one goal for you. You must become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all the books for a reason. You have the knowledge and fervor to be ennobled by the mantle as I was, as my late father was before me. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one to write the name Brant in the blue book and ensure that your children's children will be noble by birth. Then, Mother speaks to you carefully. There is worry in her eyes. Lydia Brant. But Robert, there may be another path for our son. Stefan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire Brant family. The second son bears the favor of the twins. For him, the path of the priest is a worthy calling, no less than a nobleman's sword. They have been arguing about your future for a while now. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. You smile at them both, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs. Gloria, just don't become a snot like Stefan and you'll do just fine. Mother chides Gloria for that. Wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. He barely touched his dinner. When everyone gets up from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you. Nathan Brant, please don't go, Davvon Jr. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm going to do without you. You tussle his hair in response. There is no way you can stay now, you say. But when you come home, and you will come home, you'll tell him all your stories and bring him a special present from Eterna. This is it. All your lessons have been learned. All your things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. Walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room where your mother used to read you fairy tales. The library where Gloria used to spend all her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. The whole place feels so familiar, so dear to you. It feels like home. You lived here for 16 years. Will you ever return? It is getting late. Everyone is already in their rooms, but you hesitate. Father, Mother, Gloria, Nathan. It will be a long time before you see them again. How will you spend your last few years at home with them? Spend time with father, spend time with mother, spend time with Nathan. I think in my last playthrough I spent time with father. I would like to do that again. I like to have a good relationship with my father because he's going to help us a lot in the future. You find father in his study reading a book. He has been like this for as long as you can remember. Sorry, my nose is stuffy as heck. He has been like this for as long as you can remember, always at his massive desk, surrounded by books and papers, letters, reading or writing. You enter the study. Father looks up from his books and gives you an inquisitive glance. You want to spend the night with him before you leave. Maybe he can tell you some stories about Eterna and his own studies, or give you some fatherly advice. Father smirks at that, as though he is plotting something. Robert Brant. Have a seat, my son. He reaches into a drawer and produces a decanter filled with rich golden liquid. Robert Brant. Barley whiskey, a nobleman's drink. I think it would be good for you to try it. Father pulls out 2 glasses and pours a little of the liquid into each of them. Take your glass and bring it to your mouth. The whiskey stings your lips and palate. Father clearly savors the drink. Father tells you a long story about his studies at the Imperial College. He had to study among the sons of the richest nobles from all corners of the land. He was but a commoner back then, and he had his fair shake of hardships. When you ask him about living in the capital, he says it was difficult, dangerous, and full of temptation. Robert Brant, you'll have your share of time in high society as well. I hope the company of the nobles won't lead you astray, son. You didn't go to a boarding school like your elder brother, but I believe a good education and a good family still stands for something. Now what else can I tell you before you leave? Father recalls the balls held in the capital when he was a youth. He even stands up from the desk and shows you a couple of moves. Their dancing was incredibly modest. All bows and sidesteps, no touching between the dance partners. But then, again, he chuckles. Those were the days when a fair lady could steal your heart with a single glance. You nod. If anything, you know that feeling by now. After he mentions dancing, he starts speaking of something he has never mentioned to you before. Stefan's late mother and his first wife, Amelia Alborn. You listen to his every word, surprised by his show of trust. Robert Brant. Oh, Amelia Alborn was the noble bird of prey of Anazant, and all the ballrooms were her hunting ground. Everyone thought they could tame her. Your grandfather saw her just once, and then he was off to Baron Alborn to negotiate the marriage. I was impressed by her, and I was so proud of myself. And yet, I expected Amelia to be reborn after childbirth, but it did not happen. And when I recall it now after so many years, I see that the gods had arranged it this way. Otherwise, I would have never started a family with your mother. Oh, how much I had to suffer for marrying Lydia, but she is alone as the true heart of the family. The sun is about to rise. You should rest before the long trip. Before he leaves for his bedroom, Father embraces you tightly. Robert Brant. I'm so proud you're an adult now, son. You are capable of achieving so much. Always remember that. You get into bed, your head spinning slightly. This midnight talk with Father, was it about your future or your past? Regardless, it will remain in your memory for years to come. Nobility +2. Let's go! We are noble. Departure from home. You're 1,133. You leave the family home for a long time. Your future awaits you in Eterna, the capital of the Empire. The end of Adolescence. Last night was your final night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestones count the seconds before your departure. You take one more look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there in the nearby yards, at your school, and on the winding streets of Anazat. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. You felt the tingle of emotion for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed first-hand events that will be forever remembered by history for all time. And all of this is yours, now, forever. You saw death, lesser death followed by rebirth, and the true death that takes and never gives back. You saw death lying in wait to strike the unaware, like a beast stalking its prey. You saw grandfather's angry grimace lit by the flickering fire of the lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in their way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a very young age. And yet you live on. You have a friend who has been by your side all these years. Tomas taught you many things. How to take a hit, how to keep your word, and how to remain true to your own self. And now Tomas is walking to the same carriage as you are with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain your companion for the time being. Ahead of you is a long trip towards the capital and adulthood. For the first time, you will be away from your family and home. What awaits you in the future? Boom. And that is the end of Adolescence. I have one massive regret that chapter. Not sticking up for Gloria at the trial is one of them. I take that back. There's two regrets. One is Gloria at the trial. I do regret not sticking up for her, but at the same time, though, the honor of our family, our reputation is what kind of did us in, or kind of did one of the storylines in, and the last one, along with kind of too many deaths. The other one is straying away from the ability to help Sophia. I actually felt like a legit coward sitting here when I did not help her against Auden, and I feel like it, for lack of a better word, a D-bag. The other thing I want to mention is I'm trying my best to slow down my reading. Every time I listen to myself read through these, it bothers me that I read so fast and stumble over my words so much. But I can't help it. I love reading. I've read from a young age, and I've always almost speed read. And when I read like in my head, I read over words, and in my head, I might have pronounced the word wrong, but the idea of the sentence gets across, the correct idea of the sentence. So I speed read when I read out loud. And my brain is like faster than my mouth can catch up, and I keep stumbling over my words, and it's habit just to fall back into that speed. I am trying to slow it down for you guys. I'm also trying to work on projecting my voice a little better and to like talk with my diaphragm, not to mumble as much. And I'm trying to, in other words, I'm trying to work on my voice. I don't like the sound of my voice. A lot of people don't, but I'm really trying to improve on my voice through these readings. If there's one thing I want to improve on for the future as the channel goes on, I want to improve on the delivery of my voice. Either way, I do appreciate everybody taking the time to watch. Let me know what you guys think of the decisions, of the changes so far through this playthrough. Some of them I regret, some of them I don't. For example, the blood tide, I don't regret that. I don't regret kissing the sword. As always, I appreciate y'all. One more thing I want to mention before I forget. I did put up the trailer for the Arkham horror game that's coming out on the 23rd, which I will be playing. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish this before that. If not, I'll be playing them like side by side. Let me know what you guys think of that game if you guys have interest in checking out the game. I'm actually super curious to try it. Those investigatory type of games really always interest me, and it's based on a board game that actually my sister's played a lot, and she's really excited to watch it as well. Again, the trailer's up on the channel if you guys want to check it out. If not, no big deal. As always, I'm just kidding. Again, appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Thank you again for sticking with me through the series. Again, this is a very small channel. If you guys are enjoying the content, at least, you know, maybe drop a like, comment, subscribe. If not, no big deal. Appreciate y'all nonetheless. I'll catch you guys in the next section. Peace.
Wanna get some music for this?
Nope.
How long did that go?
You said 30 seconds.
How long have I been going?
10.
Am I doing it right?
I have no idea. I'm not even
Is this
watching.
30 long?
No comment.